Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. It's just after 10 a.m. in the morning. Thank you all for being here. Seeing that we have a quorum, I'll call to order the regular Board of Directors meeting of the Harris-Galveston Subsidence District. And if you would please join me in the pledge of
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on our agenda is to accept comments from members of the public. And we have a few people who have signed up to speak today. I'm going to start off with Commissioner Tom Ramsey. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's good to be with you today. What's the time limit? I'm not familiar with it.
We don't have any real standards.
Well, we had 200 at our last meeting, and we had to have a time limit. One, thank y'all for what you do. There's nothing more important than what the Harris-Galveston County Subsidence District does. I've seen it operate for decades. In fact, one of my first assignments when I was an engineer in 1977 was to come before you and get some kind of a well permit for Crosby. You were able to give International Paper a permit with no problem. You gave, I think, a major manufacturer on the east side a permit, no problem. But Crosby, that was the problem because we had a long time. So I know you've been involved in water and permits, and one, I think y'all do a great job. I think those of us who have complied, I live in Spring Valley, and I know what it means to pay, I think, $25,000, is that give or take, Kyle, in terms of what we pay in terms of buying surface water and not take well water all the time. We do have a well. But I know there's a lot of conversation, debate, if you will, on what's going to happen in North Harris County, what's going to happen in West Harris County, what's going to happen in East Harris County. Well, my precinct is most of the unincorporated area of Harris County. There's more people that live in unincorporated Harris County than live in the city of Houston. So as I tell Mayor Whitmire many times, my friend, he's the mayor of the second largest thing in Harris County. Because most of the people that are in Harris County live in unincorporated Harris County. Most of the people that are moving to Harris County will be living there. And developments are moving forward. We've got responsible folks in that area, and they follow the protocols and the rules. But I come before you to just simply say that we can't delay at all anything related to subsidence. And there's people that are debating the science of it. They go hire a groundwater hydrogeologist, I guess, and pay them enough money, they'll say anything. But it's real, we can see it, and my biggest concern is relates to flooding. When you look at the center of subsidence in Harris County today, I think it's Katie, is that right, Mike? Yeah. Pretty much Katie, and of course we're trying to recover in Jersey Village. Katie isn't quite in my precinct, but it's pretty close. But certainly Jersey Village is, Tomball is, Klein is, Spring is, Crosby is, Huffman is, Baytown is. So it's interesting, the whole subsidence district began with a subdivision in Baytown, which Kyle could write a book on, called Groundwater. And as that sunk into the bay, we said we got a problem. Well, currently, as Mike and I have talked on more than one occasion, East Harris County is exploding. There'll be 18,000 homes constructed in the next 10 years east of Lake Houston. Currently, there's no significant surface water option for folks out there. So what are they going to do? They're going to drill a hole in the ground and get active. We already have abuse, I use that word, abuse in Montgomery County. They're drilling wells like it's nobody's business. They're drilling wells in Liberty County. They're drilling wells in Chambers County. So I'm here to tell you, you have an ally, you have a partner. Every talk I give on infrastructure, and people ask me about the budget, I tell them about subsidence. Because if we're not focused on that particular issue, we're gonna be in big trouble come 20 years from now. Y'all know that, y'all see the numbers, and I guess part of the dialogue I'd like to have, and you don't have to today, but I know you're granting GRPs to developments in East Harris County, with the promise that at some point that they're gonna go to surface. But until there is a date, until there is a more specificity in terms of, okay, well, that's great, when are you gonna do it? What is the date of it? I know what it costs us in the memorial villages. And I called Turco one time and said, hey, Mike, I think the groundwater has risen under Spring Valley. Is there any relief we can get? Well, can you imagine what he told me? No, of course not. And we wouldn't want to do that. We wouldn't want to do that anyway. Maybe an emergency, but that's a whole nother deal. So whether it's a legislative issue, whether it's having the hard conversations with developers, I'm already having those conversations on traffic. I've got developers about to construct 5,000 homes on a 2-lane road that goes to a T intersection. So we're having those conversations, and we're having very successful conversations on people participating. I think people really want to do the right thing, they understand, but unless they're told they have to, I don't think they are. So as an advocate for you, in fact, I'm going to go around we've got 73 parks in Precinct 3, and it really is the focus of subsidence in the next 30 years is Precinct 3. I'm gonna start putting exhibits in the parks. I'm gonna show the ground elevation in 1950, which would be the ceiling. And I have the ground elevation today, which is lower than the floor. So people need to see, they need to understand. I think they would support. When we had the worst drought in Texas history from 52 to 59, the Texas legislature got after it and they built 27 reservoirs. I think maybe 1 or 2 have built since then. But in the 60s, we built those reservoirs. So we have water to drink, and the mayor of Conroe can go read that. But my relatives and everybody that I know in East Texas, they paid to have reservoirs put out there so we have water to drink. And for us to be too stupid to drink surface water now when we know it's going to create a problem. So I'm just here to tell you, one, thank you for what you're doing. What you're doing is important. And I want to know what I can do to help partner with you to raise this issue, to do whatever we can to get, I guess, number one issue, Mike, is to get water on the east side, surface water on the east side. Find a partner, the people that are going to take the lead on making that happen. I'm in, and we need to make something like that happen. Again, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you for that, and thank you for discussions about Northeast Harris in the past, and then with the park thing, that's going to be a very, very exciting way for us to get the message out, not only on subsidence, but on water efficiency in general. So thank you for all that.
And we have grant money for your sprinklers in your parks.
Grant money for that? Okay. I like grant money.
It's a match.
Okay, it's a match? All right. I'm a guy with a 50-50 guy. Is that?
Yeah.
It's kind of a 50-50 deal.
Good. All right.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Absolutely, thank you very much. We very much appreciate your support, and absolutely, the east side is very much of our focus right now. So, I know Mike has a good relationship with your office, and we will certainly be calling on you for help.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, we are confirmed to have discussions moving along on the legislative front, and then all Commissioner getting set up with.
Yeah, so we're in discussions on that.
All right, thank you very much. Our next speaker is Dan Krueger.
Good morning, directors. Appreciate you affording me a few minutes this morning, and thank you again for your public service in the cause of this district and its mission, which is, from my perspective, considerably more important than much of the public probably appreciates. I have respect, great respect, for the extent of responsibility you assumed to Texans across both counties, willingly assuming that along with Mike and your district staff. I listened last month to Eric Hansen's presentation, and I commend you for having that, and for having Jun Chang in the North Florida here today. The public will not be well served without this district and the regional authorities and the city of Houston working together. And also all of you working with the two county governments and the governments of the surrounding counties. But especially with the regional authorities, your success is intertwined. You are codependent. And the public truly needs you to be successful and not quit on them or rest on perceived laurels. This district, no entity, can just regulate its way to success in an arena of rising demand. And the water authorities won't be able to regionalize their water systems simply by overcharging for water, regardless of source, even with the state offering cheap debt. So this morning I have 3 avenues of encouragement for you as you continue your important and good work. Firstly, continue to refine the rules on exemptions and metering and reporting. These must protect the constitutional rights of all Texans, but also support the accomplishment of your mission. If your enforcement program allows usage to not comport with your own rules, you infringe on both justice and truth, because your rules should be a matter of public necessity, not just bureaucratic convenience. Secondly, continue to advance your technical investigations and research beyond just best science. You can and should show continued technical leadership beyond the 2 counties that is appropriate to our regional challenge. The city should, and maybe could also help you, but I observe that they're not. The regional authorities will not be able to build to a secure future unless they're building the right projects, the right way, at the right time. Regionally, we are very blessed with abundant water availability, prior water resource development as well. We don't want to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. We have to continue to be good stewards of our water resources, our capital assets, and the public treasure, regardless of source. Please consider how you might steer some of this new Prop 4 funding to offset unnecessary public debt that we've assumed for an unfunded mandate applied as a legislative solution to an area of public necessity. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And our next speaker is Mr. Jerry Homan.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here today. Thank you for your service. My name is Jerry Homan. I'm the General Manager for Harris County Freshwater Supply District 61. We were created in 1969 and have had a long-standing relationship with the Subsidence District. Our annual average usage is right at 750 million gallons per year. We represent approximately 30,000 people. We're located right off of 1960 and 290. We are part of the North Harris County Regional Water Authority, GRP, and the 2025 conversion. We've paid approximately $40 million to date to the North Harris County Regional Water Authority. And our proposed 2026 budget is $2.6 million of funds going to the Regional Water Authority. That's after they cut the rate in half. That kind of gives you some idea of how much we pay each year. We have had no surface water in 25 years. We are scheduled to receive surface water in January of 2026. They ran all the pipes to us, and we're going through some of the training and testing, and we'll be providing the Cypress area with surface water come January. We support the Harris-Galveston Subsidence District mission and consider you our partners in this effort. We recognize your team as professionals and appreciate your efforts to educate, conserve, and to regulate with a practical, common sense approach to problem solving, to include the valuable current updated data and research you provide on a regular basis. Good stuff. I attend and speak at most all North Harris County Regional Water Authority meetings. I am very involved and knowledgeable in their affairs. The North Harris County Regional Water Authority has informed the public that it will not meet the 2025 Harris-Galveston Subsidence District mandate and may be subject to disincentive fees of over $12 per 1,000 gallons. The reasons as to why: a failed strategy to over-conversions. The surface water facility ran 2 to 3 years behind related to the general contractor and issues there. I think there's a lawsuit currently going on, and then obviously COVID, supply chain issues, and labor shortages resulting in a much lower projected surplus of surface water credits needed to complete the 2025 distribution build-outs. The strategy was to accumulate as many surplus credits as possible. That didn't happen for a 3-year time frame where they were hoping in the 2020-10 to garner a whole bunch of credits and use it through 2025 to 2028 as they build out the remainder of their 25 system. One may argue that these issues are legitimate reasons as to why the North Harris County Regional Water Authority and its customers may need a possible extension and some temporary relief from the Harris-Galveston Subsidence District's disincentive fees. This consideration would only apply with the North Harris County Regional Water Authority moving forward with all existing planned 2025 projects being funded and awarded in a timely manner. It's important to point out that the North Harris County Regional Water Authority has a split board. It is very common to see a 3-2 vote on financial funding and construction contracts to complete the 2025 distribution build-out, much less the 2035 system. The obstructionists, which we call terminal, do not believe in subsidence and would have already stopped the 2025 projects if they had one more vote. Thanks to Melissa Rowell, who you guys know, she's been the deciding vote and thus far has continued to move the projects forward. They do not believe you will apply the disincentive. They will continue to obstruct and challenge your mandate authority. They think that they can deflect public opinion and the related political pressure to the Harris-Galveston Subsidence District. Fortunately, to date, I am unaware of any 2025 projects that have been stopped. They tried, they didn't have the third vote. The North Harris County Regional Water Authority has a very good staff of professionals who are led by a very capable general manager, Mr. Jun Chang. MUDS needs your help to continue to apply pressure to the North Harris County Regional Water Authority. They need the carrot and the stick approach. Do not allow the obstructionists to not feel the pressure to blame should disincentive fees be necessary. Offer them a very public off-ramp to gain relief for their customers. The MUDs, should they continue with the current plan and move forward with funding and construction of the 2025 distribution build-out, we want them to continue. The MUDs are on your side. The majority of all the MUDs have been paying all along, looking for the relief. We don't have any control over what the North Harris County Regional Water Authority, even though we show up at their meetings and speak on a regular basis. Should the obstructionists delay or stop the 2025 conversion projects, the Harris-Galveston Subsidence District would have no choice but to issue disincentive fees. This would be clear to the public that the politicians that the obstructionists on the North Harris County Regional Water Authority will be to blame. This will be because you'll do everything possible to give them that off-ramp, to work with them, to help not have disincentive fees, as long as they're moving forward, trying to get there in good faith. Should the obstructionists realize that they will take the blame from the public and not the Harris-Galveston Subsidence District, they may very well toe the line and finish out the 2025 distribution system, avoiding the disincentive fees and the public relations nightmare for everyone. Can you imagine 1 million people having their water bill go up 3 times, 4 times the amount overnight? And how many people are going to be at their meetings, your meetings, our meetings? And for some reason, they think it wise. They somehow think that they can do that and not take any of the blame. Well, it's bad for everyone. We need them to finish out the project, and I'm encouraging you to work with Jun and their team in any way we can avoid that. Hopefully, they will come to common sense and finish out the 2025 project like they need to as soon as possible in good faith. Please give this some thought as you develop your strategy moving forward. I am available for questions or meetings should you need my assistance. Don't forget that the MUDs and their customers will be paying the fees. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Melissa, you're the last person I've signed up, but I have a note that you'll speak at item 7, is that?
I'll go ahead and speak now.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Turco, and Subsidence District Board. You're going to hear today from our General Manager, Mr. Jun Chang, about the progress we've made and also about the significant challenges we're facing. The North Harris County Regional Water Authority is not just 2 years behind schedule, we're closer to 5 years behind schedule. When this plan was developed, the intent was to use our overconversion credits to bridge the gap, but a number of factors have pushed us off course, including delays in the Northeast Water Purification Plant expansion, supply chain and workforce disruptions following COVID-19, extended easement acquisition timelines that now stretch closer to 2 years, which once were a few months, and longer review and approval processes from various agencies, including the Texas Water Development Board. As a result, we could face potential financial penalties from the Subsidence District as early as 2027. Within our own board, we've had active discussions about possible paths forward, but we haven't yet reached consensus on what form of regulatory relief to request. That said, I believe a majority of our board members recognize the need to revisit the current conversion timeline and explore amendments to the regulations. I don't think there's a perfect solution here, but I do hope today gives this 19-member board a clearer picture of where we stand. Each of us on the North Harris County Regional Water Authority Board was elected by our constituents, people who trust us to protect their interests and their pocketbooks. You, as an appointed board, have the authority and perspective to help identify a balanced, viable solution, one that allows the Subsidence District and North Harris County Regional Water Authority to move forward together without placing too heavy a financial burden on ratepayers too quickly. We would also appreciate more transparent reporting that demonstrates the effectiveness of this surface water conversion effort, including measurable data on how much subsidence has actually been mitigated to date. I'm gonna go off my notes and comment on some things that have been said today. Elevations in North Harris County Regional Water Authority in Area 3 are unrelated to Brownwood. Brownwood was at surface level. We are closer to 100 feet above surface level, give or take. So we are unrelated to Brownwood in Area 3. We are at much higher elevations. Therefore, we're not gonna be subsiding into the ocean like Brownwood did. The city of Houston took a lot of water, billions of gallons of water from wells in Jersey Village, which probably contributed to its sinking, which I've heard y'all say between 4 and 8 feet. I've had people say if it's sunk 4 to 8 feet, why is the Jersey Village sinking? Why are my constituents having to pay for the city of Houston took that much water out of Jersey Village? Mr. Homan is correct that our board has not stopped any projects. So keep that in mind. We've not slowed anything down. We have not stopped any projects. I live in Freshwater District 61, so Mr. Homan is the general manager of my water district. And I would like to say on behalf of my constituents, they do not deserve this debt. Nor a lot of extra debt if we keep going at this pace. But I thank you for understanding our region's rapid growth, the challenges we face, and the financial pressures that come with them. We value the partnership we have with this Subsidence District, and we want to continue working collaboratively towards a sustainable path forward. Thank you very much. I'm Melissa Rowell. I'm speaking on behalf of myself, by the way, not on behalf of the whole board. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We always appreciate you being here, Melissa.
Thank you.
All right, so, thank you all for our public comments today. As always, as I mentioned, we appreciate hearing from the public and from any interested persons. It helps us do our job. So we very much appreciate that. And feel free to come anytime. We got a little bigger crowd than normal, but we like to see you. That takes us to our next item on our agenda. Item 3, approval of the minutes of our regular board of directors meeting held on October 8th, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve our minutes?
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion needed? All right, all in favor of approving our minutes of our meeting held October 8th, 2025, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Then we have approval of our minutes of the board workshop regarding the 2026 budget, also held October 8th, 2025. Do we have a motion on those minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion needed? All in favor of approving our board workshop minutes from October 8th, 2025, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, receive our hearing examiner's report and consider granting, denying, or amending applications for water well permits heard in October 2025 and prior.
Good morning, Chairman, board members. We have read and prepared the report of the recommendations for those persons who may request for permits or renewals of permits, or there be requests for cancellations or modifications of current permits. You may have noticed in this month's booklet that there is a recommendation for a new light church world outreach and worship center. However, in last month's report, this permittee was always also listed. It was listed to be continued. However, mistakenly, there was a recommendation that was also included in the book. So therefore, this morning we're requesting that the board actually rescind and cancel the permit that was issued for New Life Church World Outreach and Worship Center, and issue the permit that's in this current, the recommendation in this current book. The permittee is aware that that permit last month was on the agenda erroneously, and has been working with the staff in making this recommendation. And this is the recommendation that has been agreed between the staff and the permittee. And that is that for well number 7004, in aggregate rate with well number 7005, that the board issue a permit for this previous permitted well in the amount of $7 million. This is less than the amount that was requested on the application. The permit would be, we're requesting that the permit be for an extended period of time, in aggregate $7 million as stated. The permittee shall reduce use of groundwater so that no more than 20% of the total demand comes from the permittee's water well by May 1, 2026. There is no alternative water available, and the permittee will be under an order to convert to the alternative water supply or pay this incentive fee. The permittee has elected to pay this incentive fee if conversion is not made by May 1, 2026. And also within 60 days of the permit, that the permittee issue provide proof that there has been a meter installed on the well. Are there any questions concerning this recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I do think we need a separate motion on this particular one, apart from the rest of the hearing example. It's up to y'all if you want to rescind the action that was taken last time, or cancel the permit. I think one of the best motions would be to reconsider the motion that was made at the last board meeting and adopt this new motion instead. That probably is the cleanest way to do it, because that permit was never issued.
It was never issued.
That's correct. We let them know that there was, we expected them to have the settlement finalized before that board meeting, and it didn't happen. And so we should have continued at that time, and that didn't happen, so this was their mistake and our mistake, and they understand it.
All right. You got a motion to reconsider on that one.
That one.
One application.
Yeah, the one application, that's correct.
Second.
Well, I'll make that motion. I know, we're good.
So two votes.
Correct, that's correct. We have to rescind the action taken last time, so then we need to approve the new permit.
Can we approve it when we approve the rest after we?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
This, Veronica, this recommendation is what's in the book today.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so right now the motion is to, basically rescind our prior action to reconsider this item with the rest of the, items on today's, packet.
Okay.
So, any questions or discussions needed? We have a motion and a second on the floor.
We have two motions and 2 seconds, so we need to be sure we're voting on the motion made by Mr. Cananico first, right?
Right, yeah, that's.
So, hearing no questions or discussion needed, I'll call for the vote on the motion that Mr. Cananico made regarding reconsidering. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. Rest of the day.
Carried.
There are no other revisions or recommendations to the recommendations. Therefore, are there any questions concerning any of the recommendations? And other than this new light?
All right, do we have any questions regarding any of the other recommendations made in our package? Do we have a motion yet on the recommendations as a whole? I don't think so.
No,
Not that I heard.
that was Mr. Cote's motion.
That's right.
So that's the motion we need now.
Second.
The motion is second, and I'll ask if there are any questions or further discussions needed. Does anybody need to abstain from any of the permit applications before us today? All right, hearing none, I'll call for the vote on the recommendations as presented today. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
That takes us to item 6 on our agenda, the consideration of emergency permits reviewed by the general manager. These items are not actually items of needing action by the board, but are presented to you each month so that the board knows what emergency permit applications came before the general manager in the past month, and the board has an opportunity to ask questions regarding any of them. Does anybody have any questions regarding the applications for permits? All right, hearing none, we can move on. And that takes us to item 7, a presentation from the North Harris County Regional Water Authority regarding their groundwater reduction plan. Mr. Chang, I think you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, and Mr. Hill, for giving us this opportunity to update the North Harris County Regional Water Authority's GRP program conversion program status. Actually, I think a lot of what I'm going to say today is already said, so I'm not need to repeat that, but I'm going to go on anyway. Okay, the North Harris County Regional Water Authority was created by the state legislature in 1999 and approved by the voters in 2000. That's shown on the slides. That's the service area of the North Authority boundary. And the yellow represents the current GRP participants. And you can see there's still quite a big area in the northwest part that's still not participating, mainly because they're either undeveloped or they are using exempted wells. And we have 335 square miles of areas to serve. That's a pretty big area. We're probably the second largest supply to the area-wise and the population-wise behind the city of Houston. Total population, when we first created to convert for 2010 requirement, which is 30%, we have a population of just above 600,000. And we are talking about close to 750,000 now. And we projected 20 years from now, it will be exceeding the 1 million mark. And we built 75 miles of the water lines for the 30% conversion. And we are currently building and already built or currently building 150 miles additional water lines to meet the 60% conversion. And we are currently planning and deciding what to build for the 2035 requirement, which is 80%. And the North Harris County Regional Water Authority, from now on, just simply say North. The North completed the 30% mainly through a couple of things. One, we negotiated with the City of Houston with a contract for their capacity at their existing northeast plant. The plant was built in 2005, and the rated capacity is 80 MGD, although the plant never produced the 80, but the authority has contracted for 31.25 million gallons out of the 80 MGD from the northeast plant. And we also constructed 75 miles of lines, including the joint project with the city to build a water line along Bruce Road to convey the water from the northeast plant all the way to the North Harris-Galveston Regional Water Authority boundary. And we built a plan that's called Wolf Regional Pump Station to repressurize and supply the mud districts. And those lines on the map shows what we have built for the 30% conversion. And for the 2035 requirement, 60% conversion requirement, the authority started that effort immediately after the 2010 conversion goal has been met. We started that immediately, and we have spent approximately just under $2 billion for the project towards the conversion effort. And that including several major regional projects. And you probably already heard that from the last month's West presentation, the Moose Bayou project to convey the raw surface water from Livingston to Lake Houston, the expansion of the Northeast Plant project, which the North Authority has the largest share among all projects. We have 35.3% and way above any other participants. We also participated with the city to build the transmission line from the plant all the way to our meter station. And those are what we call the regional projects that consist of most of the $2 billion I mentioned earlier. And then after that, we constructed a new pump station called Randall Regional Pump Station, and the transmission lines from our meter station all the way to the north. That's a 84-inch line along mostly Bellway 8, all the way to the new pump station, which is located at the corner of Bellway 8 and 249. And we have converted so far 69 what we call water receiving facilities. And those are the plants at mud districts. And we will put surface water into their tank in order for them to supply surface water to their customers. And we are actively working towards the completion of the 60% conversion. We still have 80 additional water receiving facilities to go to, and the estimated remaining date for completing all those projects is currently estimated about 2030, a year of 2030. And we still have about $1 billion to finance to complete those projects. And to complete the 80% conversion, that was the 2035 goal, we will still need to extend the projects. On this map, you can see, although very difficult to see on this screen, different colors. Actually, I don't think you can see the difference. In the middle is a light blue color, that's 2010, what we call the 2010.
I think they have a color copy.
Oh, they do. Okay, great. Thank you. So the light blue color, signifies the what we call the 20-30 system, that's meet 30%. And the yellow, light yellow areas are the one that were currently built or already built to convert the 60%. I'm sorry, the green area is what we call the 35 system, which is to meet the 60%, and the yellow one actually is for 80% conversion. So you may have a question why I mentioned a completion date for 60% conversion will be completed in 2030, not 2025. That has to go back to what we have first strategized in 2014 GRP. At the time, the strategy is to extend the projects over a longer period of time, even beyond the 2025, because we can accumulate enough over-conversion credit to offset if we ever fall under the target goal of 60%. And that meets the then slogan by the board to keep the rate as low as possible for as long as possible. And that's the strategy that's approved by the districts in our 2014 GRP. However, as we all know, not everything always goes as planned. So what happened now? What happened is many factors that beyond our control that caused the delays. Firstly, the city of Houston is contracting a contractor to build the Northeast Plant Expansion Project. That is a $2 billion project, and that is supposedly to be online originally by August 31st, 2021. And when we actually signed the maximum guarantee project price contract with the contractor, that date has already pushed further out. That date in the contract then states it's August, it's the notes. Phase one, the first MGD module, supposed to complete in May of 2022. And that phase one is not completed until August 16th of 2023. So essentially 2 years of delay. And that 2 years, we anticipated to accumulate a lot of OCC. And it turned out those 2 years are actually very dry year. In fact, year 2023 is probably the second driest year other than 2011, which you all know is the drought year on record. So we have lost millions of over-conversion credit because of the delay. And that delay is completely out of the authority's control because we are not even the contracting party to the project. We into the agreement with the city, and the city managed the project, and the contractor delayed the projects. And the second thing is, you all know the pandemic and the resulting supply chain issues. So we have a project, literally, the contractor put the pipe under the ground and no valves. And they have to wait for the valve to come in months later, as long as 6 months. And then they have to come back to use all those valves because they are not producing as they should be. And some of the valves we had to get actually had to come from Vietnam instead of US. So that not only increased the cost, but also significantly delayed projects. And the other factor that significantly affects our project schedule is the timeline required for easement acquisition. We, in 2010 system, when we try to acquire the easement, it takes anywhere from 6 months to 10 months to get the project started. And with a lot of the legislation passed to protect property owners' rights, there are a lot of additional requirements implemented. And so we have seen a significant more time in meeting those requirements and acquire the easement. So our average we have now is about 27 months. Half of them is contributed to the rules of the legislation, the law requirements. Half of them is contributed to the agency's requirements, because in the past, the agency will allow us to proceed with the project. For example, they will review our plans while we acquire the easement. Not anymore. They will not even look at our plan. They will put on the plan on the table until we secure all parcels. And that significantly increased the time required for agency reviews. And lastly but not least, the agency. We have agency review policies. We have to submit our design to various agencies around area, from state, tax dot, TWDB, and county, flood control, city of Houston. All of them now requires, even though they implement that policy in different timeline, but they do now require everything is in place before they will review. And they will not take a plan while you're pending another agency's review. So we have to follow each step, right? So for example, the city will not review and approve our plan unless we get our plan approved by the county. And county will not approve our plan unless we get flood control approved. And so now all of a sudden you have a consecutive review process, not parallel review process. So that greatly extended the timeline, or time period required to review those plans. And it also creates a lot of problem for us, because our temporary construction easement usually is 2 years after we acquire them, and we have to redo them again because they have expired. The design has expired. After 2 years, we have to send back to the engineering firm to review those plans. So all those are contributed not only to the time period, also the cost. So what happened with that delay cost we lost millions of over conversion credit. This is a summary chart that my consultant put together for me, and the original chart shows the yellow line that accumulates the OCC will actually cover any 2025 requirement until we get to this 2035 requirement. Well, it has changed. So now you see somewhere between 2027 we may have a problem. The reason I said we may have a problem is you will see there are two curves here. One is up curve, one is the lower curve. The up curve indicates if we moving all the projects along as planned, and we are under a normal weather conditions, and we are the demand increase due to population growth or area growth for business are as we projected, then we may be able to meet the requirement. But we are very close. We could even go just a little under the zero line, which means we will no longer have any over-conversion credits in our possession to use to meet the subsidence goal. And it's the lower case, which mainly is driven by the weather, but also could be the demand pattern change. If we have some big firms to decide to move their manufacturing facility to the most areas, then we could face significant disincentive fee for those years we are not meeting the goals. So roughly, what that translates is that we could, in a best scenario, we could either meet the goal without exhausting all the OCC, but we also could face about 800 million gallons short of the over-conversion credit, which if we have to pay this incentive fee for that, that's about $10 million for that. But if we run out of OCC due to drought condition or demand condition, then we will, starting in 2027, and from 2027 and 2031, we could incur $19 billion of deficit, which if you translate into a disincentive fee, that's $200 million. So that is a significant problem for us. And so that's where we are. That's the status of our program. I hope I can give you better news, but that's the facts. And I'm happy to answer the questions.
Thanks, Jun. Any other questions?
I have a question. For the easement process, are you able to construct within the right of way also, or just easements?
Most agencies does not like us to use the right of way, because they want their right of way for their projects. So, and we also want easement, because if we build anything in the right of way, they can tell us to move anytime, and our lines are big. Our lines are 84 inch, 102 inch, and we don't want to move at a higher cost.
Jun, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that with the nuke expansion delays, that at the GRP phase, they had pushed out the date that water would be available to the northeast facility. Did you guys make changes in your plan once that date changed?
We did, because there was a lot of discussion at the time regarding the scope, regarding the, what we want, right? How much reliability we want to have. So you may know the price originally when we received the proposal is $895 million, and by the time we signed GMP, is $1.9 billion. So more than double the cost. So I'll give you an example of what mainly changed. The proposal is for a 320 million gallon rated plant. At the time we signed the contract to build under the GMP contract, it is a 320 reliable capacity, which essentially means we need to build a 426 million gallon plant. So, yes, we did change a lot of things.
You know, laugh at my exact comment, because I may have signed the document that said $895 million on that, so,
Yes, to blame.
yeah, we were good at 895. That's the question I have for you guys. The decision made on the Northeast plant, you could have chosen the path to go with a lower cost plant at the end of the day, of which you guys were 35%. So you guys made some decisions with your partners to go to the $1.9 billion number.
We did.
That you knew had the economic, cost for, but you thought there was better value in the product at the end of the day. So that was a choice North Harris County made as the leading percentage partner of Northeast, is that correct?
That's correct,
Okay.
and we do not regret that decision.
I
We
think
still
100%
believe a better plan, a more reliable plan is needed.
Perfect, I'm 100% agree, just make sure we understand that there were cost value discussions along this whole way, and all this
Absolutely.
where you ended today.
Yeah.
Second question I have is, you know, my understanding is you guys can use educational credits.
We do not have any.
My understanding is you guys could purchase and participate in a program the district has, such as educational credits that are a way reduced cost than to go to disincentive fees.
We could, but
Okay.
that's not my decision.
I understand, but I just want to comment that there's a much cheaper way to solve some of the options moving forward than just to go with disincentive fees. Alright. The other thing, I just want to say from my position on this with all the authorities, I like to have whatever rules we put in place be acceptable for everybody in the district. So whatever comes in, I want to partner and work through all these things, but along with the fact that everybody has the same opportunities to use the rules to meet the end goal of subsidence, to help out flooding and all the other issues we're having, especially given the hotspots of subsidence, which is the maps on that. So we're here to partner with you on those. I did want to comment that the educational credit solution was meant to handle situations such as delays in construction or easements or other stuff, to help give people financially viable alternatives to go do that. And I think it's certainly a play you all can sort of look at, and it's much cheaper than any other option on that. And I just want to bring that up, just have comments on my side.
Thank you.
Yeah. Isn't that something like 40 cents versus?
47 cents a thousand gallons, yes.
So, I mean, it's a huge difference in reduced price if you do that. Have you run those numbers just to see, how it would turn out if you use the conservation credits?
No, sir, I am not, but I am aware of that option, but that's not a decision for me to make. That is for the board.
Sure, I understand, that's a board decision.
Yes, sir.
They might appreciate that information. I don't know how much of that gets passed on down to them.
At the time that the option was presented, and when the option was presented, the response from the board was no. So that's the last I can for.
So why are the over-conversion credits running out? That's a highly technical term, I realize, but are they expiring?
No, over conversion credits are immortal, and they can be used for 100% of your total water demand, they never expire. I think what's being conveyed here is that they did not earn as much as they thought, as they're going to need based on that projection from their consultants to get to where they need to get to. So you have to earn them, if you can't earn them, you don't get them.
Okay, so they were not earned, they did not run out, is that?
They didn't earn a sufficient quantity to facilitate their plan as they thought it would work out.
Is it correct to say that they have a bank of over conversion credits right now that they are utilizing right now?
That's correct.
Okay, so I got that. They spend all the ones they have, it's not that something happens to the credit.
Right.
Okay.
And unlike the water conservation credits, which you can purchase each year, they had to earn those during the period when, conversion was, required at a lower rate. And now they can't earn them right now, unless they have overbuilt.
And then a comment was made when you mentioned, extend projects over years to keep rates low. And did somehow the district participated in that, or that was part of our involvement with this GRP?
So the district was not involved in the development of any of the GRP, but ultimately the district approved their GRP, with that approach.
Right, but it wasn't something we,
It wasn't on our, I wasn't here,
We
but I'm pretty sure it
mandated,
wasn't our idea, it was the idea.
and again, that's something that can be changed. I mean, they control their rates, we don't control their rates.
That's correct.
Thank you for the presentation.
Yes, sir.
So I have a question. In terms of not meeting the conversion level, is the issue right now that there's not enough surface water available at the northeast plant?
No, sir.
So the issue right now is there's not enough distribution
There's
capacity?
not enough distribution system, we cannot convert enough, mud districts.
Potentially.
Well, we just can't finish them in time to meet the 2025 goal. With the Northeast Plant Expansion Project now in service, we have enough service water.
So if the plant had been constructed sooner, is the issue then that you would have earned more over conversion credits in years past? that
Good
were not-
question, I need to explain that. So, as I mentioned earlier, we only contract 31 MGD out of the existing plant. So, we have repeated our demand for 30% conversion. And in order to accumulate more over conversion credit, we could have used up to 40 MGD. But the city does not have that capacity at the existing plant. So we need desperately a new plant being service so we can take additional water. And that's why we entered the contract with the city aiming at 2021, so we can have 4 years accumulate enough OCC, right? When that completion date continuously being pushed out, we lost all this opportunity to earn.
Right, so the delay's not impacting the amount of water you need right now, it's impacting the fact that you didn't earn those conversion credits as the plan was.
We didn't have enough surface water again
Yeah,
to earn over conversion.
got it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. Thank you for the presentation, sir. So,
Thank you.
am I wrong to think that the reason you're running out of conversion credits now is, from what I understand, is because the new board lowered the water rates? And so you're now currently using those conversion credits, or they were supposed to be used to help push the project over to the 2030?
Did you say it's because of board and lower?
Yes.
No, no, sir. The rate has nothing to do with the project status. The rate is just the financial status. It's the financing part. The project, as, our board president mentioned earlier, and Mr. Homan mentioned earlier, we have, fortunately, have not stopped any or slowed down any project, regardless of what the rate is. So, the only reason the project was delayed is because those factors I mentioned. Northeast Plan delay, that's the main one, and the project cannot be finished on time because the real estate acquisition, the supply chain, the agency review process, but that has nothing to do with the rate.
So the water rates you charge your customers didn't go down or didn't stay the same when they needed to go up?
It did go down. When the board, when our board election took place in 2022, and then we come on board in have reduced the rate 3 times.
And is that a factor why you're running out of conversion credits?
No, sir. Again, the conversion credits accumulation is related to the projects. You cannot earn them unless you finish the projects to deliver service work. The completion of the projects also has nothing to do with the rate, it has everything to do with what I just said, those factors that impact completion of projects.
I think the question over here was, how much more money would you have in the bank today, to pay all these sums if the rates wouldn't have been cut?
We are at the point right now, our rate is just below the cost of it. And clearly, in my opinion, it's not sustainable. But again, that's board decision or my decision, but to answer your question, Mr. Johnson, I think the funding for our project is still adequate at this time. We have not stopped or slowed down any projects due to funding concerns.
I appreciate it, Jun, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions before we move on? All right, thank you very much. That will take us to, item 8 on our agenda. Consider a resolution adopting a budget for the Harris-Galveston Subsidence District for the period beginning January 1, 2026 and ending December 31st, 2026. Do we have a motion for this?
On behalf of the Finance Committee, we would like to recommend the approval of this budget. The Finance Committee voted unanimously to present this to the board for their consideration.
Second that. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions regarding the 2026 budget?
I'll ask my annual question, any material differences in the budget from what we discussed before?
There is not. I will say that I did make some adjustments on the water conservation side that account for some things later on the agenda today. There was a typo in the one that was presented at this incentive fee. I know. At this incentive fee at $12.42, that I could put off 52 cents in beginning January 1, 2026. Other than that, the other changes were not approved.
Any other questions?
Under the budget, conservation credits, what do they work out to cost?
So in January 1, there'll be $40 per sponsorship.
$84,000.
And that's $40 for each sponsorship receives 84,000 gallons of groundwater credit that can be used for up to 30% of a person's permittee's total water demand. And they have a 20-year, they exist for 20 years and then begin to expire after 20 years.
And how does that compare with this incentive fees?
Well, this incentive fee is still 52 and the cost is generally about 42 cents per thousand, so.
120 cents.
124.
It's a couple of orders of magnitude difference.
It's a one.
All right, any other questions? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor of approving the resolution adopting our budget for 2026, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 9 on our agenda, consider a resolution authorizing the general manager to execute a sponsored research agreement with Texas A&M University at Galveston for subsidence and water research.
I'll ask, Ms. Ashley Krueger to go up and talk through, this work that we have planned with Dana.
Are you wearing maroon?
Yes, it's fall season, so I am embracing the color fall. Well, my alma mater is University of Florida, so yes, but I appreciate everything this has to offer. Happy to be here. Well, thank you for your time and attention today. We have been, myself have been talking with professors at the University of Texas A&M University in Galveston, Texas, specifically with with their coding department. So what this opportunity would allow undergraduates, 4 specifically, and would also fund 2 principal investigators to explore our data. We are very fortunate to have a lot of data. We have data going back to 1976 on water use and alternative water supplies as well. We also have a lot of subsidence data that's dating some back to 1906. But we wanted to present this data to undergraduate students and see what they are able to come up with our data. And we're going to be using this with specific objectives, but it gives the undergraduates an opportunity to learn about us, fulfill our objectives that we have within our science and research plan, specifically on groundwater use and helping with compliance, and use this machine learning as a way to help streamline some of our workflows because we have so much data. And this would be a great opportunity also to look at some of our subsidence data and maybe ways where we can visualize it differently or enhance the way that we're communicating this information by someone who's maybe brand new and doesn't know what subsidence means. So this would be over 23 weeks. It would begin in the spring semester and it would last through summer, and it would be about $50,000. It's included in the budget for next year.
Is from computer science program?
Yes. So they're going to be taking our data and using machine learning to be able to have different workflows. Yes. Yes, sure.
Principal point of contact with anyone?
Pardon?
Who is your principal point of contact with anyone?
Yes, so the PI is going to be Marian Zaki, and then the co-PI is Alpaslan. I apologize, I forgot his last name. But his first name is Alpaslan.
A few things, we're funding out science and research.
Yes, sir.
And when are we gonna go over to that great university in Central Texas with the burnt orange, get rid of their principal investigators?
That's not the real color.
We're gonna try to get every other college in Texas.
That's the entrance aquifer.
You're just gonna, be a little.
Noted for future plans. Yes.
We do have University of Nebraska on next month, right?
Oh, boy, stop. So moved.
All right, we have a motion. Did we have a second?
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Then, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, consider authorizing the general manager to execute a contract with Resource Innovations for professional services related to the evaluation of water savings achieved across water conservation programs.
Okay.
It's actually your.
Yes, we very data heavy today. It's really exciting for these agenda items. So this is going to be looking at, so I'll begin from the beginning. We released earlier this year an RFQ that was going to look at the estimated water savings potential across all of our water conservation programs. So we have our school program, as mentioned earlier. We have Water My Yard program. We also have a grant program. And then we have Smarter About Water as an online resource and tools for our community. So we wanted to understand, since we're getting data back from our school program, notifications are sent out for Water My Yard, and we also have data from all of our grantees, both the 5 years prior and 5 years in the future. We wanted to look at all that data and be able to understand what was the savings achieved across all of our programs. So this submission ended in May. We had 3 submissions. We recommended the Resource Innovations to the Water Conservation Committee back in August, which was unanimously approved, and that's what we're presenting here today. And their goal is to be able to estimate the savings across all of our programs for about $156,000. It's about 7 months, with the kickoff to happen in January and end in July, and all of this would come from the Water Conservation Fund and is included in the budget.
Let me just add one thing, so the committee, unanimously approved to recommend this to the board, at this meeting, and then, the other thing I wanted to mention, that we did a study like this in the past, but it was only focused on the education program, if I remember right, and since that time, we've added Smarter About Water, Water My Yard, and the grant program, seemed like a good opportunity for us to get another bite at that, and take a look at it with the whole program, in one piece.
Yeah,
And then what are we gonna do with the data when we get the data?
when we have the data, great question. So I think the first step is to understand what our savings are, and then maybe we can highlight other opportunities. So for example, the grant program. We have a lot of data, we've had AMI grants in the past, and now that we're starting to get data, maybe we could even push the bar further and be able to understand how much water savings was achieved through something that's not really more about water efficiency and may not have some of those behavioral changes that can be quantified. So I think this kind of opens the door to kind of understand what should we have, and then it can help us decide where we want to continue and
And so we'll be able to say, okay, on this project, this much water was saved, and here's how much money we, the district, put in it. Here's how much money we and the grantee put in, and decide ultimately we want to do that again. Is that part of what we'd be looking at?
We could, that's more like an economic piece. We're looking at like strictly like water savings, for example, in this. So what they tend to do is have surveys to understand, okay, is this successful? Should we, maybe expand upon other things? Or we can use this data and then go into some more economic piece. But the goal right now is just how much should we save from this, and then we can use that to decide where to move forward.
Right, I mean, we have the financial piece.
Certainly.
We don't need to tell us what that is, because we know what we invested. So we can do some of that calculus on our side.
Yes.
I think the big thing for us on this one is that we get an idea what the potential conservation is from all of these different programs. We know right now that when you sponsor the program, you get 84,000 gallons of credit. Is that appropriate? But also, what is the level of implement? I mean, I think we're going to get information on implementation and how important that is, and how does that factor out on the conservation begins. I think we'll get more details on that that'll help us provide some guidance for future programs and future program development.
Do we have any estimate of what we think we might result as far as conservation from the project?
Yes, so with our school program, because we send out kits, we also have these surveys that students are able, and assessments and quizzes that they're able to use to understand implementation rates, as Mike was mentioning, for those kits. So we do have an estimation across our school program. We have some sort of idea from our grant program, because we do within our final report ask them, okay, what was the quantifiable or measured savings that you achieved with this project? And we do ask for their water use, both 5 years prior and then 5 years in the future. So we do have some of that, but I think this will give us a chance to get more into the numbers than staff has been able to achieve.
Yeah, just to add on to that, the Frontier report, which was that first study that was done, 2013, 2014, it was.
I know it's 2015, but.
I concur. That one, I think, estimated for the school program at the time with the components of the school program then and all the pieces of it. I want to say that number there was about 100,000 gallons per student program, which is very comparable to the 84,000 gallons we put out for our credit. So I think, in that standpoint, the kits have changed since then, so the curriculum's a little bit different, so getting those numbers screwed up would be good.
All right, did we get a motion on this?
I'd like to move to approve. Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or question? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Then, item 11 on our agenda. Consider authorizing the general manager to execute work order number 2 with Sky Geo for INSTAR subsidence data compilation, analysis, and publication.
Thank you. This is our last one on our research and data heavy agenda items. We have, staff at the district has worked with Sky Geo. So they are an international company with offices in the United States. They actually helped us with our INSAR map that we released with our annual groundwater report. Which is really exciting. This is the first time that's been included, and it's a way for us to look at what's happening in between our monitoring stations. So we have over 100 GPS stations spread across our counties and some adjacent counties, but this helps us look in between what the land surface is doing in between those stations. Because they did a really great job of doing this data set for us, we would like to continue this. It would be $72,000 for about 1 year. They would give us quarterly updates from INSAR, which we can use from a monitoring standpoint to identify areas or maybe local phenomenon that we want to explore further. And it would also give us some GIS integration within our own enterprise GIS. Originally, they were one of the ones that had submitted on an RFQ last year, but they proposed a proprietary software. But they have a great technical expertise that would be using our data for both calibration of INSAR processing and verification. So one of the challenges when you're looking at INSAR and processing and picking algorithms is our region has a very difficult climate. So when a thunderstorm, for example, happens, the data.
When are we gonna get a thunderstorm?
True, in this climate right now, but it can be troublesome for INSAR processing. Also, having a lot of education can be troublesome when you're processing INSAR. So they have a way of using a different type of algorithm than other people have used to be able to refine that and get us more quality data using our GPS stations for additional ground truthing. I can go on if you like, but I can leave it at that.
Science research fund?
Yes, sir, yes. So this is included within the budget for next year.
So moved.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion needed? Then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
You earned your salary. All right, that takes us to item 12, General Manager's report. Mike, what do you have?
Well, I just wanted to mention, we're getting towards the end of the year, so a lot of times towards the end of the year, I get the opportunity to go teach a class at U of H. This past, I think it was last week actually, I got to go out and talk to a graduate geophysics class. I think there were a few more folks in there than are actually in the class. We ended up having a full room, but it was great to be able to be out in front of the students and give them things about the Subsidence District, about subsidence, and a lot of them don't really know much about that, so it was a great time, and certainly I got a lot of great questions, and it's interesting to me, every time I get the opportunity to do that, I always learn something in the process, so it's a great, they always ask questions that they're very thoughtful. I got some great questions this time around, and it was great to hear that many of them are keeping their ear to the ground, because I had one ask about, hey, I heard that there was a new application for a Seawater Desal plant down there. I was like, well, yes, there was. Let's talk about that. So that was good. That was good. So anyway, I had the opportunity to do that. And as far as the other things in the GM report, I'll just mention that we continue with our outreach, both on the science and research side and on water conservation. We're continuing to follow and work to get monthly posts out there on Smarter About Water related to water efficiency. And just want to remind everybody that Smarter About Water really is intended to be a tool for everyone to be able to not only refer to, but use. Whether it be a residential or business or city or mud district, there's things on there for everybody, and a lot of good information about how to be more efficient with our water supply. As we move, and we've talked about this a lot of times in this room, as we move further down the road in population growth and the development of alternative water supplies, being efficient with our water supplies and really looking at demand as one of those knobs that we can truly turn to make sure every drop of water gets to where it needs to get to is really important. So we continue to push that, and with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So I have a question on the North Harris County presentation. Can you put that PowerPoint back up, Ron? And I'm looking for the service area, or maybe we can just.
Yeah, you got
it. Right, so I wasn't sure I was tracking, the gray area, what is?
So the colored area are, the way I understand this slide, are GRP participants, so they're actually, they are using groundwater to a level that has gotten them into their GRP as a participant. If you're in the gray area there, that's typically unincorporated areas, although HMW does exist up there in some places. In those cases, they may have water use, maybe using groundwater, but their use is probably below that level where they would end up in their GRP.
Right, so,
Below-
but that,
below 10 million gallons.
the gray area, you're not saying nobody's using water in there. Somebody's using water and they're using wells, and
They're using wells.
we know who those people are.
They're
and they-
Penalties.
Okay.
Yeah, so you said that some of it was undeveloped also.
Yeah.
The gray.
Some of it's also undeveloped.
Right, and then the narrow bands, what are those? There's one that kind of runs at the bottom, and then there's another one that runs up at the top, it's a lighter color. On mine, kind of a golden or.
Yeah, that's I think that's Cypress Creek that runs through there. But I don't know what that color difference means, to be honest, but I can ask you about that, if it's not.
And so this, what we're looking at here, that's their boundary.
It includes their boundary and some systems that they picked up outside of their, I think, enabling legislation boundary, which I think will exist.
So here's what I like. How many school districts are in that boundary? How many schools?
It's obviously the population is increasing. We just learned that, you know.
It's like a creek or a road or
And I
something.
need to know how many participants in our school
Yeah, I think those are roads.
program are in that.
We can find that out, we'll find out for you.
I'm
how
sorry,
many of
I
those
couldn't look,
schools
just trying to-
are being supported by other.
I do know that Grover is not being.
And then the other question, there was
Yeah,
a statement made.
no, he had
I mean, I
had
was
information about
essentially
what those pale lines
taking
are.
Before that,
I think those are,
yeah.
I think those are roads.
So let's assume, for purposes of today's discussion,
Don't worry about it.
that's accurate. There was some comments made about, increased demand, both as to the residential side and as to, I'll just say, the business side. So, more people come in, want more water, they go through our permitting process, right?
Yes, if they're using groundwater.
And then we can't, within our rules, basically tell people no, as long as they come in and their request for a permit meets our rules.
Yeah, with the requirement of law that they have to follow the regulatory plan. So if their water use, they're in an area, so for example, if they're in an area where they don't have alternative water available, and their use exceeds more than 10 million gallons per year, then they follow the regulatory plan, then they're at 20% groundwater for, and 80% alternative.
And so are they in the north GRP at that point? Is this big massive aggregate permit thing?
It is a big, permit, but I'll explain the process. So when we get it, and I don't know, Veronica, feel free to chime in if I'm not getting this exactly correct, okay? So, when we get a request for an application for a permit, for a new permit, they tell us how much their total water demand is going to be. If they're in the North Authority area, if they're going to be, they don't have alternative water available, then we reach out in the north and say, do you want this person in your GRP or not? And they tell us whether or not they're going to accept them or not. If they're accepted into the GRP, then they're moved into the GRP during that first permit term. If they're not accepted, then they're required to go on their own and follow regulatory plan on their own.
Okay, and so what's the process by which the north would say, yes, we'll take you, no, we won't? And how does that impact this discussion that we had today?
That's a decision on their side. I mean, I think that they run the numbers on their side, and they determine whether or not they have the free board to decide if they're ready to permit to take on additional groundwater use or not. And then they're, typically what would happen is they have a set allocation on their permit. So if it's a small user, typically that's a number really, really small in comparison to their total aggregate permit. But if they had a big user in, like I think they mentioned the possibility of a large manufacturing company coming in that area. I mean, if we're talking about a large amount of water, that would be a completely different discussion than an auto shop well or.
But they have the right to say, no, sorry, you're asking for more water than then we have the ability to get it.
It's their decision.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on what their legislation says, whether or not they have to add them or not. But we do not make that determination. The authority tells us whether or not to add that well to their aggregate permit.
Okay, so it's not necessarily discretionary. If somebody shows up with an application that meets their legislation, they're in.
They have to follow their legislation, they have their legislative enabling legislation that gives them requirements.
Correct.
And determine if they have, if somebody meets the requirements and they have to take them in.
We can ask them that
Okay.
question.
Yes.
Is the North the only group that doesn't participate in the conservation program credits?
I would say that I think historically, we have had the Central participate historically, I don't know if they're currently participating, no? But the Central's not in that same situation.
Right.
But the West was a participant for a long time, City's a participant for a long time.
How often do we go to their board to explain the program and benefits?
Well, it's been explained to their staff on numerous occasions,
Okay.
and it's been explained to people on their board in one-on-one meetings. And we have a lot of information available on it, on our website, so I don't think it's a foreign concept.
Okay.
Well,
Well, I'm
part
thinking
of-
for the public education, I mean, would it make sense to try to
I'll
get
say
them?
part of the history though with the North was that for many years, they had their own water conservation education program. And in fact, they had, I think they had a person dedicated to that. They had what they called their trailer that they would take around to schools. They had their own little workbooks that they would give out. So some of the reticence with past boards was that they were already doing their own water conservation, so they shouldn't have a need to participate with us.
So I'm thinking that was in the past, it is no longer, is that your understanding?
So, I don't have intimate knowledge of that. Melissa, you probably know a lot more than I do. But my understanding is they no longer have the trailer at least, and to what extent they have their own internal program, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I think it's their choice. Yeah, 100%, I think there's tools, whether they wanna do this, to get the most economic solution out of it, to solve their immediate solution. So it's really, I think we're giving them tools, they gotta choose by tools.
And that's a tool that can be used to get around these incentive fees.
That's the whole reason, well, I shouldn't say the whole reason.
Well, we have built into our rules, little safeguards, checks, not checks and balances, but, ways to manage, kind of the difficulties in big projects, that we recognize. Over-conversion credits was one of the tools, and the conservation credits is another one of the tools.
We actually, let me just add one, you mentioned over-conversion credits, we actually changed our rules a few years ago to allow for over-conversion credits to be transferred. So that was another option that was given.
From another entity?
From another entity within Area 3, so they can.
Same area, same.
Some restrictions on that, though.
And then each MUD in that area could participate in the school program. Can they get their credits to the north?
So, yeah, they can do whatever they want with their credits, of course, there's probably a process involved with that, but once a credit, when someone, I say someone, because it can be anybody, it doesn't be a permittee, when a sponsor sponsors the program, they actually literally get a bond that says you have this many gallons of credit. And then essentially whoever holds that bond owns it.
It's a bearer.
It's a bearer bond, and they turn them in for their permit, and in times when they have to deal with things that they couldn't account for. That happens. The vast majority of credits are used for that sole purpose, to have over here as a little bit of an insurance policy versus things that you can't foresee.
People bank them just like they have banked the over-conversion credit. To use them for, situations in the future that may happen. And I can tell you with the West, and I don't think they have this program now, Leah's gone, so we can't ask her, but, at one time, if I was a MUD in the West Authority, and I participated and got my 84,000 gallons a kid credit, I could sell that to the West Authority. They would pay cost, so they would pay the same thing that I paid as the MUD. And they would take that, because they were building up their bank. That's probably a good 10, 15 years ago that they were doing that. But yeah, when people build up their banks, you just need these kind of, for the, I'll say rainy days, but I guess maybe for drought days.
Are we afraid that the conservation credits would preclude the cost of, or override the cost of implementation for, I mean, you know, at some point, they can just keep buying credits for 40 cents a thousand, and then.
Right, and one of the.
That's not a huge impact. For
No,
water.
that's an incredibly astute observation, and one of those things that when you have a program like that, that can be used by everybody in the same way, there is the potential for it to be used not as a rainy day or an insurance, but as a water management strategy. We haven't seen that done to an appreciable level. We have a few out there that use credits regularly, and there's reasons why they need to do that. But remember that the credit program, and honestly even the GRP process, are things that the board has created to make it easier for folks to be compliant with the regulatory plan. They're not required by statute, they're not required for us to do. So you have the ability, if we see that being a problem, to modify the program. Up to this point, we haven't seen that need yet, but it's something we keep an eye on very closely.
Thank you.
The board must keep an eye on all of that, and that's our responsibility, not to let those programs go crazy.
Yep.
Right, but the water management strategy has guardrail on it. You can only use so many credits for so much of a percentage. It's not just cash them in and pay my whole bill.
That's right.
With education.
That's right. And the reason why the OCCs are 100% is because the technical side of that is that you've earned an over-conversion credit because you haven't put as much stress on the aquifer at that location. So the thought was you get all that back because you didn't put that stress on. And the reason why when we said if you transfer those OCCs to somebody else, that all changes, because now you're taking that benefit and using a credit in a place where we already have a detriment, right? So now, instead of being able to use it for 100% of your total water demand, you can only use it for 10, and from it being immortal, you have to use it in 12 months. So those were an example of a guardrail that we put on to make sure that they weren't being abused.
Thank you.
I have a question about the service area. You know, I don't go outside the loop. The new Apple Serve facility on North Fairbanks Road, will that fall within the service area?
North and south Beltway 8.
It is south of Beltway 8. It's 8702 Fairbanks.
The big hole in the middle is the old NRG plant.
Okay.
So I get to go compare where that's right, that's the 249.
Okay.
Do the map on, I think,
The white one?
the big white middle blank,
Yeah.
that's the one NRG. So.
Okay.
The other one, I mean, then, oh, never mind.
All right.
So I think it's close.
It's close.
Yeah.
So is North Harris, is there an ask or a request to suspend our fees until they get?
They haven't asked anything yet.
Just kind of.
And they're compliant with their current permit, and they're in the process of renewing their permit right now, so we're not expecting there to be anything, not expecting it out of compliance. Just haven't been notified that they're gonna be out of compliance.
Yeah, I think it's 2027 is the earliest.
Potentially.
Potentially.
All right. Any other questions for Mike?
Thank you.
I did have one question. Education credits, and we talked about the class you taught at UH. And it just so happens in my neck of the neighborhood, the drainage district has started a once-a-month class with high school students from FISD. They come over once a month to find out about flooding and, you know, what the drainage districts do. Would you be interested in giving them a class on subsidence
subsidence and how all that plays into flooding and all that?
Yeah, I mean, we're always interested in being a part of those things, we can get them scheduled, and, I'm glad you brought up, the drainage district, because we had a meeting with, the Galveston County Drainage District here last month, really good, kind of meet and greet type of thing, so we look forward to collaborating with them moving forward as well, but, yeah, we're always open to be able to do that, we find time to do it, we'll be happy to.
All right. Item 13, consultation with general counsel.
All right, great.
I've already been cautioned to be brief, but I have to bring my computer up here just in case. The biggest news on the litigation side, well, for the subsidence district litigation side, you've already heard that we have settled the New Life Church. That's about a 4-year effort, I think. It's been really going on since the pandemic. I think we came up with a good settlement. I think we have got a very good result out of that. It just was pulling teeth. What's the other saying? The elephant finally birthed that baby, right? Congrats, and I want to point out to you that Sean Sledge with the Sledge Law Firm was instrumental in helping get that resolved as well. We were headed to a contested case hearing, we brought her in to handle the contested case hearing, and she was able to get them to come to the table and settle that and go through the contested case hearing process. I appreciate her help with that, along with all the efforts of the staff. And on the statewide litigation front, the Supreme Court of Texas heard the Cockrell cases, the Cockrell 1 and Cockrell 2 cases in oral argument on November 4th. As predicted, they barely touched the reasoning and decision of the Court of Appeals in their discussion. They looked entirely at some of the other issues involved. I am very concerned with some of the questions that were asked and some of the arguments that seem to be made specifically by Justice Busby and the lesser state Justice Sullivan, where they were citing to section 36.851A of the Water Code that says any person dissatisfied with any decision of the district may sue that district in district court. Subsection B says only a party to a contested case or hearing may appeal that person and they participate in that appeal. They're reading that as two completely separate sections. And the argument that Cockrell made was that B wipes out A. If you look at B and say you can sue on a permit unless you have participated in contested hearing, and that's the only time you can sue over a permit question, that completely wipes out A. That ignores all the other reasons you might sue a district. You can sue a district over its rules, you can sue a district over its management plan, you can sue a district over contract provisions. There's 100 things you can be sued over under 36.251A that have nothing to do with the permit process. So they're absolutely wrong about that. Now here's the good news, I double checked that this morning. That same provision does not occur in chapter 8801, which is the chapter governing how you can be sued. In fact, I could probably make a fairly effective argument that the legislature has never waived your sovereign immunity. So we have that in our back pocket now. There is a provision that provides for an appeal process. It does limit that appeal to permittees and to participants in the contested case hearing, but there's not that same general waiver. So I don't think that it doesn't appear to me that the arguments being made by the justices or what they're trying to look at in this case, the Cockrell cases, will implicate or impact either one of the two subsidence districts. So that's good news. I want to let you know that GVRA has now filed 2 lawsuits against the Gonzales County Groundwater Conservation District. They filed one after the 55-day deadline for a motion for a hearing. They filed a second one after the 90-day deadline for filing of a motion for a hearing. One deadline occurs in the Administrative Procedures Act, the other one in the Water Code. They're not sure which one they have to follow, so they cover the basis by filing 2 lawsuits. I'm going to try and get both of them dismissed, and we'll see how that goes. The Corpus Christi area, we're talking about desal plans. Corpus Christi area and voted down their desal plan at the last city council meeting. Apparently that's coming back up in front of the city council again. And we'll see what they do with that. In the meantime, they have drilled series of wells in Nueces County and are pumping that groundwater into a river. They've obtained a bed banks permit from DCEQ to be able to transport that water down the river and take it out for treatment later on. I'm not sure exactly how that happened. First off, I don't think you can do it because I think the definition of waste in the water code says you can't do that. That's per se waste. Secondly, you have to be able to show that the water quality of the river is improved, and what they're pumping is somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 TDS, so I don't see how that's possible, but.
What about the evaporation rate? I mean,
Well, they're claiming only 17% is lost on route. I don't know if I believe that or not, but the water code, it says it's per se waste to allow, to intentionally or negligently allow groundwater to escape into surface water of really of any kind. And it lists out a lake, a river, a stream, everything except the word pond. The word pond is not in there, which has been a problem across the state. But every other type of surface water is listed, and I think if somebody has to write a final lawsuit against Corpus Christi saying you have to stop doing that, they're gonna have to stop doing that. They're also looking at buying the Evangeline project permits in San Patricio County, which they have about 24,000 acre feet of water permitted, although they don't have, right now, they don't have a customer for that, and Corpus Christi is looking at buying the entire permit. They would still have to get export permits, and they would have to get a series of drilling permits to drill wells and be able to produce that. The good news on that project is all of that water would be put into their pipeline that comes from Lake Corpus Christi into the city. And I've already talked to them that when the Gulf Coast Water Authority did that, it turned all the water brown, because they were putting, it's not unoxygenated, water without oxygen in it into water that did have oxygen in it, and that immediately had the oxygen pulled all the iron out of the groundwater and turned all the water around. So that might happen within the pipeline, but that's all going to a treatment plant anyway, so they can probably take care of that treatment plant. But we'll see if they can work out deals with the various people who are opposed to that project, which is most of San Patricio County, to see if they can get that done without having to go through a 2 or 3 or 5 year contested case hearing litigation process. So we have, groundwater is a big deal over the entire state. You know, these types of export projects, big projects, data centers going in, they're gonna have huge amounts of groundwater, other types of big amounts of groundwater, and it's becoming more and more important, and for that, as a result of that, groundwater is gonna be a major topic of discussion during this next legislative session. I think it's gonna be the biggest groundwater session that we've ever seen, and I don't have any idea what we're going to do. We've already seen bills filed in the special sessions to do things like repeal and capture, which the attorneys will love it. We're gonna have a bunch of lawsuits. I think we're still gonna have the same problem we had in 1904, that, you know, I can't necessarily prove that it was your pumping that caused this well to go dry. Or what we're supposed to do about that when it happens. Is that, I mean, will this result in some sort of oil and gas type unitization where I get to pump your well dry, but in exchange I'll have to give you a check? You know, when in oil and gas, that's probably okay. Once all the oil and gas is gone from beneath my property, I still have property I can use. If all the water's gone from my property, I've got nothing. So, you know, I don't think that's a proper resolution to it. So the other thing I think that we may see, and this could impact the subsidence districts as well, is the possibility of expanded authority for the GMAs, up to and including making the GMA, the Groundwater Conservation District, and the entity responsible for issuing permits. So anything, I think everything, we have not seen any interim charges yet from either the Lieutenant Governor or the Speaker. When those come out, we'll have a better idea of where the chairman of those committees and where the leadership is to go with that, those groundwater regulations and statutes. But, we'll have to pay close attention earlier and very close attention during the session. I'll stop there. We have another meeting we have to go to for Benson Subsidence District shortly, so I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Greg? All right, thank you very much.
I have a